Hey guys, so this is the supplementary rationalism text. And remember, this literary movement was from 1750 to about 1800, mostly during the time when America, the United States, the colonies were struggling for independence from Britain and then winning independence. This text is from the famous pamphlet Common Sense. It was written by Thomas Paine, and he's someone you probably have heard of in world history. And the point of his pamphlet was to make the case for independence from Britain, which was kind of like what Patrick Henry was doing in his speech to the Virginia Convention in 1775. It was published anonymously in 1776, and 120,000 copies were said to have been distributed in 3 months, which I know doesn't seem too crazy in this day and age, but that's pretty incredible for the time period. And just like Patrick Henry, he uses a lot of logos in his pamphlet. I've given you a website that just has excerpts of the whole thing here, but we can still see some examples. So remember, logos is the rhetorical strategy where you're making appeals to logic and reasoning. And in this paragraph right here, he has a counter argument. He says, I have heard it asserted by some that Americans were flourishing under their connection with Great Britain. So you guys learned freshman year in the argument and argument unit that having a counter argument does strengthen your claim. And then especially so if you have a smooth pivot to your own argument. He says, but even this is admitting more than true, for I answer, America would have flourished as much and probably more had no European power taken any notice of her. So down here, he continues with more logos, using that rhetorical strategy to give facts and reasoning, pointing out that for Great Britain, their motive was always interest in the colonies, not attachment. The colonies are too dependent on Britain. And this whole situation where, because Europe has kings, okay, so there's some shade being thrown there because the colonies were proud of kind of building a democracy. So Europe has these kings, and because of that, they're never long at peace. They have a lot of infighting in the whole continent. And because wars break out between England and any other foreign power, that always then affects the trade of America because of the colonists' connection to Britain. So that would be some reasoning why the colonies should be independent. So then Thomas Paine makes use of ethos. And ethos is either an appeal to ethics or morality, or it's an appeal to the audience. It's an attempt to either identify with the audience or to build up your own trust, authority, and experience to the audience. So he says, no man was a warmer wisher for reconciliation than myself. So building up this status and this authority of somebody who tried to see a way back to Britain, who tried to see forgiveness as an option, that kind of builds him up as a level headed, balanced person. He didn't jump straight to let's go to war. He actually did wish for reconciliation at first before it was not a possibility. And a little bit of ethos here. He says, where, say some, is the King of America? I'll tell you, friend, he reigns above. So either an appeal to the audience, calling them friends, an appeal to the fact that they would believe in a Christian monotheistic God who reigns above. That's just a little example. And lastly, Thomas Paine uses pathos, which is appealing to the audience's emotion to convince them of something. In this case, to convince people that they need to be independent from Britain. So he says, those that oppose independence, they're opening the door to eternal tyranny. He calls Britain a barbarous and hellish power. And then he uses these exclamation points to really kind of get people fired up. Oh, ye that love mankind. So if you love mankind, which hopefully everybody does, then they would go to his side and agree that yes, we must fight against Britain. At the end, he says, oh, receive the fugitive and prepare in time for an asylum of mankind. So he's using these powerful and dramatic word choices, or what we call diction, and then the punctuation of the exclamation mark.